To the unforgettable songs you really love.
I'll be here.
T-minus 3 hours, 40 minutes, and counting. Will the Space Shuttle Columbia finally get off the ground?
He was the only one I saw there that night. The size and the figure fit his description, so I just figured it was him.
O.J. Simpson says it was him, but limo driver Alan Park isn't buying Simpson's version of what happened that night. And returning to the scene of the storm, some Florida residents will get their first chance to see what, if anything, Opal left behind. I'm Porter Anderson at CNN Center in Atlanta. Welcome to Daybreak Saturday. NASA is hoping the fourth time will be the charm for the launch of the Space Shuttle Columbia. Right now, it looks like all systems are go for this morning's scheduled liftoff. Live pictures now from the Cape. 3 previous launch attempts had to be scrubbed because of problems. Just a short time ago, the astronauts suited up in preparation for the 16-day science mission. It will be one of the longest shuttle flights ever. CNN plans live coverage of the launch, set for 9:41 a.m. Eastern. O.J. Simpson's days in court aren't over yet. CNN has learned Simpson has been subpoenaed to give a deposition October 16th in a wrongful death suit brought by the family of murder victim Ronald Goldman. Goldman attorney Robert Tortolo says, quote, "We expect to ask a lot of interesting questions about different statements that were made." Simpson friend Robert Kardashian is refuting some of the rumors which surfaced this week about Simpson's whereabouts the nights of the murders and the defense team's strategy. And on CNN last night, Kardashian said he never looked in the suit bag Simpson gave him the day of the murders.
I never looked in it. I imagine his clothes. It came back from Chicago. Do you think O.J. Simpson, knowing his home was ringed with press and ringed with police, do you think he would come home from Chicago and bring bloody clothes with him? I mean, it doesn't make sense if people will only think about what transpired. When I took the bag from Kathy Randa, I was doing it as a gentleman.
Another key player in the trial spoke to CNN's Larry King about the former football star's acquittal of charges he murdered his ex-wife and her friend. Former juror Brenda Moran says the jury reached a quick verdict because prosecutors simply did not prove their case.
All the evidence that they had, the blood evidence, all of that, didn't mean anything?
Well, you know, I kept hearing this term about a mountain of evidence. Well, to me, it was a molehill.
Because there wasn't a lot of DNA?
It wasn't a lot. Well, it just wasn't enough. They didn't convince me that, you know, it was, I had my reasonable doubt.
Los Angeles District Attorney Gil Garcetti will be Larry King's guest this evening at 9 p.m. Eastern. The only thing jurors at the Simpson trial wanted to have read back during their deliberations was the testimony of limo driver Alan Park. And in a surprise call to CNN, O.J. Simpson took issue with Park. But Park says he saw what he saw. Details from CNN's Greg Lamott.
After 9 months of trial, the jury spent just a matter of hours deciding O.J. Simpson's fate. In fact, the only thing the jury wanted was to hear limousine driver Alan Park's testimony reread. What was Park's reaction?
I was shocked.
Park testified he spent 15 minutes trying to get someone inside Simpson's estate to answer the intercom. Then he said he saw a 6-foot-tall, 200-pound African-American walk into Simpson's front door. Seconds later, he said, Simpson answered the intercom. During her closing arguments, prosecutor Marcia Clark called Park's testimony pivotal.
What that testimony proves is not only that the defendant was not home, but it proves he was not sleeping, and it proves that he lied about it to create the impression, to create an alibi for himself.
During the trial, Park said he couldn't positively identify the person as Simpson, but he has always believed that's who it was.
I thought it was him. I mean, I'm going to say it was him. It's his house. Who else is going to be there? He's the only one I saw there that night. The size and the figure fit his description, so I just figured it was him.
According to Simpson, it was him. That's what Simpson said when he called the Larry King Live show Wednesday night.
Alan Park said 15 feet roughly from my front door, which was me walking out of my front door, dropping my bags and going back in.
In fact, Simpson specifically mentioned Park by name.
There was no shadowy figure coming down the driveway and going across the driveway. That's what Marshall Clark told you. That's not what Alan Park told you.
But Park begs to differ with Simpson. He says he never saw anyone putting luggage outside. Only a person enter Simpson's house.
That's what he says. If you're going to believe it, believe it. If you're going to believe what I said, then believe what I said.
But at least one juror questioned much of Park's believability because she felt he was mistaken about the number of cars he remembered seeing in Simpson's driveway the night of the killings.
I was so correct with everything else that if you're going to throw my whole testimony out on just the cars, then I think you should think about it again.
Park wouldn't say if he thinks the jury reached the right decision, but he does believe the verdict was reached hastily.
If they were going to find him innocent, they would have deliberated a lot longer than they did, because there was just too much evidence and too many witnesses to go over it that fast.
Even so, Park praised the jury for putting up with months of sequestration. And as far as the verdict goes, Park says he would never second-guess anyone when it comes to this case. Greg Lamont, CNN, Los Angeles.
The William Morris Talent Agency has a new client. Prosecutor Marcia Clark of Simpson trial fame has inked a contract, quote, to guide her post-trial activities. Clark says she's at a crossroads and has made no decisions about her future. Maybe the Morris Agency has. They've lined up a team of literary, motion picture, and TV agents to guide her. There will be no TV coverage of the Menendez brothers' retrial this month, at least not like what we saw with Simpson. A judge ruled Friday no cameras in the courtroom. This time, both Eric and Lyle Menendez will be tried before the same jury. They've admitted to killing their parents in 1989, but claim they were afraid their father would kill them after years of abuse. Coastal residents near Pensacola, Florida will get a chance today to see the destruction caused by Hurricane Opal. Special passes will allow them 8 hours to visit the site. It's the first chance many will have to find out if anything remains of their homes and businesses. CNN's Brian Jenkins reports others are already starting to pick up the pieces.
With roads on some barrier islands along Florida's panhandle still buried under sand and water, thousands of residents have yet to see what's left of their homes.
How about a room? It's real cheap.
Many of those who've made it back found beachfront houses and boats blown to bits by Hurricane Opal. In this neighborhood, set back from the shoreline, residents saved what they could for a woman who was still away.
We're picking some of the things that belong to her. And when she comes home, hopefully, we can have something that we've salvaged for her.
Insurance industry officials say Opal may be the third costliest hurricane in U.S. history in terms of insured losses, though far behind the $4 billion paid out after Hugo in 1989 and the $17 billion total for Andrew in 1992. Travel experts say the timing of the hurricane could have been much worse for the Panhandle, sometimes called the Redneck Riviera.
This is right after the peak season ends. Really, all tourism there has quieted down by now, and it won't start back up again for another 6, 7, 8 months. So they've got plenty of time to clean things up and rebuild.
In Alabama, downed trees cut power lines to roughly 800,000 homes and businesses, and officials can't say yet when all the lines will be fixed. In northern Georgia, the storm knocked out power to more than 400,000 customers, the third worst outage ever here.
We had more than 5,000 trees or limbs that caused outages. We've had more than 1,300 poles go down, and it was because of the wind.
Utility officials figure most customers will have electric service back by Sunday, the rest by Tuesday. With more than 1,000 of its linemen working round the clock to restore electricity, Georgia Power Company still had to bring in more than 300 linemen from other utilities in Virginia and the Carolinas. With nearly every southeastern state hit by a major hurricane in recent years and more possible in this busiest tropical storm season ever, people in the region seem eager to help each other pick up and go on. Brian Jenkins, CNN, Atlanta.
Still ahead on Daybreak, we'll update you on a deadly earthquake that struck Indonesia's Sumatra Island. Also, Pope John Paul II is just hours away from holding a huge outdoor mass in New York. And we'll tell you why some doctors are advising pregnant women to limit their intake of vitamin A.
Sports guys like me like all the great sports stuff on America Online. I like getting the latest scores.
He's had enough. This commercial's over. That's
okay, the kid had enough.
America Online. Welcome.
Our biggest customer just changed information systems. Now we've got to change ours. But our technical people aren't up to speed, and everyone else will have to learn new software when they're already struggling with upgrades. We're in big trouble. Unless our people get the training they need. What I need is one company that can do all that training now.
For the total computer training solution, there's only one company to call, ExecuTrain.
Managing a family's tough business. There are deadlines, cash flow issues.
Milk money. But moms don't get sick days.
So for coughs, they trust Robitussin. Now Mom can handle crucial management decisions.
Can we keep him?
Robitussin, recommended by Dr. Mom.
A bottle of soda pop contains about 85% water. And what water is in the bottles of some of the world's best-selling soft drinks?
Hey, Culligan man.
Culligan, the world's source for better water.
See that, sissy? I'm talking to some fella in Washington, D.C. He's what they call pro-NAFTA.
Ma, caught and shot up the America Online again.
America Online. Welcome.
Sunday on a special 90-minute CNN Talk Back Live, The Color of Justice. I'm Susan Rook. Did the Simpson verdict widen the racial divide? Has your view of black and white changed? Join Leon Harris and me, Sunday, 9 Eastern on CNN.
Tonight on Inside Politics Weekend, Senator Ted Kennedy. I'm Wolf Blitzer. Will the GOP plan to save Medicare destroy it? Or are Democrats just playing politics? Tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on CNN.
A powerful earthquake rocked the Indonesian island of Sumatra today. The quake had a magnitude of 7 and was centered in the Indian Ocean off the west coast of the Sumatra island. Officials say at least 100 people were killed, and the death toll is expected to rise once debris from hundreds of toppled buildings is removed. The quake was felt as far away as Singapore. Pope John Paul II will celebrate Mass in New York's Central Park in about 3 hours. It's expected to be the largest Mass of his 5-day tour of the U.S. Last night, the pontiff urged seminarians in Yonkers, New York, to hold fast to traditional church values. During his visit, the Pope has repeatedly spoken out against abortion and the gap between the rich and the poor. Another leader is planning a U.S. visit soon. CNN has learned Cuban President Fidel Castro will attend the UN's 50th anniversary ceremony in New York later this month. Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole says he opposes allowing Mr. Castro to visit the U.S. In Havana, officials are dismissing President Clinton's new Cuban overture as, quote, a joke. In a speech Friday, Mr. Clinton offered to exchange students and teachers, allow U.S. news organizations to open Cuban bureaus, and permit humanitarian travel for Cuban Americans. Most pregnant women take special care to make sure they eat healthy and get enough vitamins. But now researchers warn that too much vitamin A may increase the risk of birth defects. Liz Weiss has details.
Debbie McCready's is 7 months pregnant and pays attention to everything she eats.
I try to eat on a regular schedule, every morning, afternoon, evening, and I try to make sure I have all my 4 major food groups on top of a little extra for the baby.
She also takes a prenatal multivitamin, a prescription that makes a lot of health sense. But according to a new study, pregnant women who take high doses of vitamin A may be putting their babies at risk for birth defects.
Our data show that women taking supplements of vitamin A at levels greater than 10,000 international units per day have an increased proportion of babies born with selected birth defects.
The Boston researchers interviewed more than 20,000 women about diet and supplement use during the early weeks of their pregnancy. Although only a very small number of women delivered babies with birth defects, those taking supplements with high doses of vitamin A were at greatest risk.
Vitamin A intake during the first few weeks of pregnancy may be critical. And because vitamin A is stored in the body, it is even possible that excess vitamin A intake before conception could lead to birth defects.
Everyone, including the developing fetus, needs vitamin A. The recommended daily allowance is 2,700 international units, but the amount found in some single supplements can be as high as 25,000. So experts say it's important to read labels. While levels of 10,000 international units or higher were found to be dangerous, most prenatal and multivitamins have about 5,000 units, which is considered safe.
Some women may take a combination of multivitamins and additional vitamin A supplements, or they may take more than one multivitamin pill per day. These women, if pregnant, may also be placing their child at risk.
But one nutrition researcher who's on the advisory board for a supplement company hopes this study won't send the wrong message.
Many of us are not eating our 5 fruits and vegetables a day, that sort of thing. And so multiple vitamins have a lot of benefits, I believe, for all of us, and not just for pregnant women.
The researchers also note that beta-carotene, a precursor form of vitamin A, did not appear to pose a health risk to pregnant women, nor did foods high in beta-carotene, such as carrots and tomatoes. Liz Weiss for CNN in Boston.
Still to come on Daybreak Saturday, details on today's celebrity wedding with a guest list that includes the first family.
Every time you make a long-distance call, AT&T sends out a signal to check the quality of the line, automatically routing around trouble before you've even finished dialing. Because in business, it all comes back to getting your calls through. Guaranteed network reliability at a competitive price.
Linda, I'd like to bounce an idea off.
Only from AT&T for the life of your business.
For the pure water that helps hospitals operate. For the water that keeps restaurants cooking. For water that grows little plants. For water that runs big plants. For drinking water on islands far and islands near. Who does the world call?
Hey, Culligan man!
Culligan, the world's source for better water.
The issue is returning to work. Liberty Mutual has its own rehabilitation center where they develop new ways to help injured workers back to their jobs healthier. Liberty's approach helped one workers' comp customer cut losses by 43%. Getting people back to work, it's the best therapy of all. Liberty Mutual, facing the issues that face our customers.
Today, there's an exciting lineup of programs to start your weekend with the latest news plus helpful and informative features. Then find out what's happening in showbiz this weekend. Elsa Clench brings style to the world of fashion and interior design. And our world is explored in Science and Technology Week. All from the people who cover your world. Today on CNN.
That cooler air sounds good to Californians. Here with more news of the weather is Dave Hennon. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Porter. We're going to check out in the Atlantic where we have another tropical storm. Pablo continues to move off towards the west-southwest. Here's the system right here, and over the last 24 hours, we thought the storm was going to die out, but as you can see, it has regenerated a bit, and whether that continues is something we'll have to watch closely over the next couple days. Continental U.S. here, the Lesser Antilles here, and that will be the first threat will be to the Lesser Antilles, and that will happen, we think, sometime during the day tomorrow or into Monday. Latest statistics on Tropical Storm Pablo. It's located at 12.5 north, 51.2 west, or about 650 miles east of the Lesser Antilles. Maximum sustained winds right around 50 miles per hour moving towards the west-southwest. At a pretty good clip, about 17 miles per hour, and actually a little slower than it had been moving. And over the next couple days, as we said, it should move towards the Lesser Antilles and eventually towards Puerto Rico. Radar summary, showers and thunderstorms back across the lower 48. Not too numerous this morning. There is some activity into the northeast, some along the eastern seaboard, and during the day today, that trend will continue. A little bit of wet weather, too, in the northwest, and that will be spread spreading into the Rockies, eventually into the plains. A look at high temperatures today. Cooler through the Great Lakes and into parts of the Northeast, where highs will be back into the 50s, and a wide area of 40s covers the arrowhead of Minnesota and back in through much of Ontario. Still warm in the Southeast, highs into the 80s, and still warm too in the Southwest, 80s and 90s here. Later on today, we find a weak area of low pressure through the Rockies moving into the plains, scattered rain showers with this system. And our front along the eastern seaboard continues to produce showers and storms. Trough of low pressure swinging around the low pressure produces some wet weather too across the Great Lakes. And it's going to be another wet day in Florida, and it looks like a wet weekend in the Sunshine State as the stationary front and some onshore flow combined to produce showers and storms. Sunday morning, we find high pressure over much of the Great Lakes and back through the Midwest. That's going to produce fair weather. Low pressure tracking through the plains with some scattered showers. And again, notice in Florida, the wet weather continues. Into the evening hours on Sunday, more thunderstorms in Florida, more showers and storms through the Midwest, and high pressure bringing nice weather through much of the Northeast. Lots of sunshine into the forecast. Let's take a look now at some forecasts for some cities across North America for today. Our very active tropical season continues. Next hour, I'll update you on the latest with Pablo. Porter?
Thanks, Dave. President Clinton, First Lady Hillary, and daughter Chelsea are in Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts today. They arrived last night to attend this afternoon's wedding of actors Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen. The Clintons are spending the weekend at the home of real estate businessman Dick Friedman, who also hosted them during their 1994 summer vacation. Mr. Clinton will deliver his weekly radio address from the island. The Clintons return to Washington on Sunday. Coming up, the sports scores and a review of current movies, including Sylvester Stallone as the world's best hitman in a very hostile environment.
When a person suffers a stroke, the blood flow to the brain is reduced or cut off. Then a chain of chemical reactions known as the glutamate cascade causes severe damage to brain tissue. Once this occurs, your body is defenseless. But there is hope. Drug therapy may be able to stop the destruction of brain cells in the crucial hours after a stroke. We're working on it. Call today for a free booklet on stroke from America's pharmaceutical research companies.
In business, a lot can happen. If you want to keep up every week, you have a choice. Not Forbes, not Fortune. You can read Business Week, or you can read a week of the Wall Street Journal. Either way, you'll find out all you need to know. The question is, how much time are you willing to spend in the process? Business Week is designed for busy people. One look at the cover and you'll know exactly where to turn inside. A quick scan of the contents page and you'll have all the events of the week that interest you.
Now is the time to subscribe to Business Week, because right now you could get 28 issues of Business Week for the low rate of $25.95. A savings of almost 69% off the cover price. And with your paid subscription, we'll send you this compact cordless data bank free. Here's how to subscribe.
Call 1-800-982-0660 for 28 issues of Business Week for just $25.95. That's 1-800-982-0660.
Tonight, it's an hour of Washington's best and brightest. First, the Capitol Gang gets together to look at the week in Washington. Then, Wolf Blitzer and satirist Mark Russell take you inside Politics Weekend. The best and the brightest, back to back, tonight on CNN.
Today on Style with Elsa Clench. The accessory's the thing when the street meets haute couture. Short skirts in sorbet brights and hats in blacks and whites. All featured in Wolfgang Joop's fall collection. Today, 10:30 Eastern on CNN.
your weekend plans include a trip to the flicks, CNN's Carol Buckland reports snapshot clicks, and Dead Presidents is alive with entertainment.
Strange Days is a doesn't always know when to stop thriller about the ultimate in virtual reality. Set at the techno-grunge turn of the millennium, it's directed with fierce, feverish style by Catherine Bigelow. Rafe Fiennes is the morally warped center of the maelstrom, an ex-cop selling access to other people's experiences.
This is not like TV, only better. This is life. It's a piece of somebody's life. It's pure and uncut. It's straight from the cerebral cortex.
There's a strong performance from Angela Bassett and a twisted one from Juliette Lewis. Strange Days is part sci-fi, part film noir, and with a well-deserved R rating, it is definitely not for the kids. That multi-million-dollar man, Sylvester Stallone, is back in Assassins after a very bad summer. He plays the #1 hitman in the world. The charismatic Antonio Banderas is the up-and-comer who's out to kill him.
The night in the taxi, I thought I was the lucky one, just to be alive. Now, I think differently. You were the lucky one.
The R-rated Assassins is basically bang, bang, boom, boom. Entertainment-wise, it's slick, but only so-so.
To the Bronx.
Dead Presidents is the second cinematic offering from Albert and Alan Hughes, the twin brothers who knocked a lot of people's socks off with Menace to Society. Although the Hughes have some lessons to learn about character development and plot coherence, this picture packs a powerful visual punch. Set in the late 60s and early 70s, Dead Presidents tells the tale of a Vietnam vet who's drawn into an armored car heist. The film is rated R. It is very strong stuff.
Are you using protection?
And finally, if urban angst is not to your taste, try How to Make an American Quilt. This lovingly created film features a remarkable cast, including Winona Ryder, Anne Bancroft, Ellen Burstyn, Alfre Woodard, and Maya Angelou. While much of what this PG-13 rated movie has to say about male-female relationships is rather threadbare, How to Make an American Quilt is as warm and soft as a down comforter.
If you had to choose between marrying a lover or marrying a friend, who would you choose?
Je cherche l'âme sœur. I would marry my soulmate.
Carol Buckland, CNN.
Just ahead, our top stories, followed by Parenting Today. You've got a toddler, but who's really in control? Up next, advice on how to handle your 2-year-old. Are they the terrible twos or terrific twos? You decide. Just ahead on Parenting Today. I'm Porter Anderson at CNN Center. With a check of our top stories, we're going to leave you now with pictures of the Space Shuttle Columbia, where it's being prepared for its launch later this morning.
This week on CNN Saturday Morning, the Pope visits his most rebellious flock. At issue, Catholicism in America. Saturday, 7 Eastern on CNN.
Sprint Sense International gives you great rates to countries all over the world. What more could you want?
How about some cash?
Cash would be good. Yes, some cash back.
Presenting Sprint Sense International with something new, cash back. Call now for these simply great rates on calls to countries all around the world. Plus, get rewarded with 10% cash back for every dollar you spend.
For me, that would be at least $100 a year.
Cash back on all my calls to Ireland? There's no limit to the amount of cash back you can earn. Month after month, you'll see your cash add up, so it pays to stay with Sprint. Call now and we'll even switch you for free.
What about domestic calls?
You'll get cash back on domestic calls, too. And with Sprint Sense International, you'll get a great 10 cents a minute rate on every state-to-state call. So call now. Cash back would be great.
Good idea.
Cash back. It's one phrase that's understood around the world. Get simply great rates now and 10% cash back every year. Call now. 1-800-227-2353.
This is CNN.
I'm Porter Anderson at CNN Center with this check of our top stories. It looks like the Space Shuttle Columbia may finally get off the ground today. The liftoff is scheduled for just over 3 hours from now. This is the 4th launch attempt for Columbia and its planned 16-day science mission. O.J. Simpson's legal problems are far from over. He's been subpoenaed to give a deposition in a wrongful death suit filed by the family of murder victim Ronald Goldman. Jennifer Arthur has the details.
The civil suits filed by the families of murder victim Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman could keep O.J. Simpson tied up in litigation for the next several years.
They want money. They want punitive damages. It's going to be a little harder than they thought it would be when the lawsuit was first filed, but it is not over.
In the complaint, we allege that Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown were murdered by O.J. Simpson.
In this instance, since the activities involving the death of both Ron Goldman and Nicole were clearly intentional, they weren't negligent, this is the most serious form of civil action, and the damages are going to be very, very steep.
I would say that if he walks away with more than 10 cents, we probably haven't received all the justice we should get.
The civil trials will differ in many ways from the criminal trial in which Simpson was found not guilty. Only 9 of 12 jurors will have to agree for either side to win. The burden of proof is much lower in civil cases. The Brown and Goldman families only need prove what's called a preponderance of evidence.
As long as the plaintiff's position is more likely or probable than the defendant's position, the verdict will go to the plaintiff.
Robert Turtolo represents Fred Goldman in his wrongful death suit against the now exonerated former football star.
When Mr. Simpson puts on the glove for us, he ain't going to have any latex glove down there, and he ain't going to be stretching his hand out like this. We're going to see that he puts it on normally. And you know what? It's going to fit. So there won't be any Mr. Cochran running around. If it don't fit, you got to quit.
The civil suits were filed in Santa Monica, not in Los Angeles. O.J. Simpson will be facing a much different jury here in Santa Monica during his civil litigation than he faced in downtown Los Angeles.
I don't think you'll find that 9 out of the 12 jurors in the Santa Monica jury, since they take from a different panel, will be African Americans. You know, frankly, I don't think you're going to find one of them standing up afterwards giving the Black Power salute.
What's more, O.J. Simpson may have to tell these jurors in his own words what happened the night of June 12th. In a civil trial, if you have any information, you cannot take the Fifth Amendment. Jennifer Arthur for CNN, Los Angeles.
Now Parenting Today with Pat Etheridge.
This week on Parenting Today, sure, 2 can be terrible, but it's also a lot of fun. We'll have tips to help you get through the worst so you can enjoy the good stuff. And driving home the importance of fire safety, a program that helps kids learn by seeing and doing.
Hello and welcome to Parenting Today. I'm Pat Etheridge. After the joys of the first smile, first steps, first words, it can hit parents like a lightning bolt. Suddenly, your little baby has a mind of his own, the word no on his lips, and a little body ready to unleash a powerful force, a tantrum. Today, reminders that there is a silver lining to life with a 2-year-old and advice on weathering the storm.
Sound familiar?
No, we can't open it. We're in the store.